Hi, Nick Muller here. Today I'm going to go through the slides that I delivered this morning at a seminar where we're going to talk about leveraging CRM and dashboards and the combination, how to leverage it and use it in an effective way to increase and build your sales pipeline for new and existing business. So this is for company leaders, business owners and sales managers. In this morning's meeting, there were a group of company leaders, business owners, and a couple of salespeople as well, which was interesting because we were able to get a good view of their perspective in terms of being able to get better results from their actions and actually manage their activity better. So ultimately, if you're watching this video, you're somebody who's keen to capture customer information better, have better disciplines in your sales process and activity, and would like to produce more predictable, reliable results and work towards a path of less resistance on the activity you're already doing. So who am I? Well, my name's Nick Muller and I work with company leaders, manufacturer and reseller distribution companies mostly, or a combination of both, where performance of the people has a direct impact on profitability and future growth. And I'm all about putting the business owner in the driver's seat so that they can manage and grow their business and achieve their outcomes with less effort. Most leaders are constantly barraged by staff problems, excuses for poor performance, and all of this has an impact on their bottom line and the owner's quality of life. They can't take a holiday, or if they do, they're constantly worried about what's going to happen when they get back to work. And it's all about building a business that's sustainable and reliable, where people are doing what they're supposed to, and when all the frameworks in place, it's pretty easy for people to do what they're supposed to. As well as creating an accountability structure, I also work with the organisation to make sure that the team's focused on the right goal and the right direction, and then put the owner in a position where they can lead more effectively without having to constantly be pulled into the doing and the operation of the business. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to go through CRM architecture and all databases so that you have a background to base your decisions on when you're selecting a database. And then we'll go through how to select a good CRM for your company and what the considerations are. We'll look at your pipeline and how to build your sales process to suit your business and not the other way around. And some of the integrations on the accounting side and also on the email side. And then we'll look at display of dashboards, reporting and meetings, as well as a case study. So this is not a technical seminar. We're not promising to solve all your marketing and sales problems. The other thing about CRMs is, or any database for that matter, is if you put crap data in, you get crap data out. It's not a magic wand where we're just going to wave a magic wand and make all the problems disappear. So if you're looking for a quick fix or rabbit out of a hat, you're probably not going to find it here, just to let you know. Implementing a CRM takes a bit of work. It can be logistically, technically, and in a people fashion quite challenging, but it's worth it to get the organisation built into your company. Usually a good CRM actually underpins everything that you do. If we can simplify it and reduce complexity, business growth happens fairly naturally. So does this sound like you? You forgot to follow up and lost a sale due to a competitor between sales calls. It's happened to me before, and it's happened to most salespeople. Information scattered between phone contacts to Outlook and an accounting database. Lots of different cubby holes for contacts, including sales reps' phones, including your phone for that matter. And you get bogged down chasing the next client to make up for the last sale you didn't make, to make up for it. So one of the things that happens when we don't follow up or give ourselves a task or follow through in the time frame that we said to the customer we're going to follow through on, we end up losing the customer. They go somewhere else and we're constantly chasing our tail or chasing the next sale. And secretly, you know you could do better and you are a good salesperson. You just need to be in the right place at the right time more often and manage those sales more tightly and effectively to get better outcomes. Fair enough? So if that sounds like you, then you're probably in the right place. Too much chasing. So with online marketing, there is an opportunity to reduce your cost of sale by increasing your electronic marketing, provided you do it really well and you can distill a message that your audience wants to listen to and positions you more uniquely than your competition. And you don't quite know how to go about doing that integrating the marketing and sales activity, but you'd like to. Well, the good news is a good CRM forms the basis or the backbone of any marketing strategy. So you can't just go out and start talking to the market and sending emails and things like that unless you've got the whole process lined up. And if you do have a sales team as well, then why would we go and drive more fresh inquiry into the funnel if we're not handling what we've got properly, which is always the argument for sales managers and business owners and leaders. So to go through basic background and architecture of a CRM, fundamentally, we start off with a contacts list. And the basis of any CRM is a contacts list. And a contacts list is essentially held in a table, great big table. And the table consists of fields, much like an Excel spreadsheet. And if we look at those fields like an Excel spreadsheet, we have fields such as first name, last name, phone number, address, notes, last contact date, and the list goes on. So any CRM starts with the basic table, and above the basic table, which is the platform for a CRM, and it's always the customer contacts list, next goes the company or organizations table. So there might be 3 contacts for one company. So for argument's sake, if we had 2,000 people in a list, customer contacts, we might have 1,500 companies, for argument's sake. And those contacts in the 2,000 list would connect with the 1,500 companies because we might have 2 or 3 people per company. And those 2 tables form the basis of everything in a CRM. Okay. Next, above that layer, we have leads, and then above that layer, we have opportunities, and above that layer, we have projects. And then we report on those projects. Okay, so I won't talk too much about leads. All I'll say about leads is that the leads system is largely about managing existing contacts and nurturing your existing client base. Opportunities is about managing new projects and new opportunities into the pipeline, and building a sales process, outlining and identifying what your sales process looks like from, let's just say, initial customer call through to doing a quote or a scope or a quote, through to sending a proposal, through to follow-up visit or whatever. And what there is to do is map the opportunity sales funnel so that new inquiry that's coming in is managed very, very well and effectively. And then in the reporting system, you can report on those opportunities and what's happened last week and the last fortnight. Once an opportunity is won, we can then convert it into a project. And once an opportunity that's been won as a project, it's in play, and so we have to deliver on it. So we can use CRMs very, very effectively, and I've worked with a number of my clients very effectively to take projects through to completion using the CRM as a project management tool. The other thing I'll add in there is that there are activity sets which can be applied to a project. And what I mean is you can have 2 or 3 or 4 people working on different parts of a project, and by assigning an activity set to a project, those people can automatically be notified once a project's won and in play, massively reducing complexity. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about a business problem. Crap data in equals crap data out. So if we don't have systems to support a CRM, implementing a CRM will be ineffective. So what I mean by that is a CRM, or client relationship management tool, is a well-organized system that works as well as the user. Okay, so the company needs to have systems to support the CRM. So we just have to agree upon some processes in terms of naming conventions, what our sales process looks like, the different kinds of categories that our customers fall into, and how we're going to use the CRM. It's a little bit of training to get your head around. 2 or 3 months and most companies are up and going and flying. Most companies don't have a central bucket or storage facility for their data, and a lot of valuable customer information for the organisation is stored in multiple places. Very, very risky in terms of potentially people leaving and taking all that information with them, or computer dies or whatever. It's not held centrally in the cloud unless you're doing good backups and all that sort of thing. The other thing about managing sales is organizations need to be able to put a line in the sand or have a snapshot in time where they can look at where we're up to and decide where to from here. So we need frequently, and I suggest at least twice a month. Probably weekly may be a bit overkill unless you've got a bigger organization and you've got a sales team. Then weekly meetings talking to the numbers is very effective. And I would suggest fortnightly. Usually with companies I engage in sales activity with, we have meetings on the 15th of the month and early in the start of the next month where we do a snapshot in time and look at how well we're going against the budget or forecast. And a lot of companies have complexity just by sheer virtue of the number of people and the fact that everybody sells differently. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the next person. Another thing that comes up quite often is that there are different segments and different kinds of activity for salespeople within an organization. So one person will be handling an inbound customer, another person will be handling a completely different sector, which is outbound for argument's sake. And the question becomes, well, how do we manage these two different kinds of activity? So often sales processes aren't thought through, and these issues end up leaving us in a bit of a logjam and we don't really quite know how to tackle it. A good CRM and good customization can cater for everybody's needs as well as not lose data in the process. So all of this equals average or ad hoc results. Visibility comes from simplicity and good data collection habits. So a CRM has two purposes. Number one is to increase customer tracking and get all of the information stored in one place where it's easily accessible. Then you can report against it and you've got visibility around where we're going, where we've been, and what we have to do differently to move forward. And secondly, a good CRM gives us the ability to improve our sales patter, creating a consistent experience for the customer, and consistency builds trust and reliability. There are lots of studies that show that reliable salespeople win business over people with, say, the gift of the gab that turn up occasionally. Okay, so I'm going to go through a number of CRMs and examples. And just to list off down the side here, we've got Zoho, ActiveCampaign, Insightly, Base, Socket. And there are a number of other ones like Infusionsoft, which I find are complex and expensive. There's Microsoft Dynamics, and there are bolt-ons like Power BI. I don't want to go through all of the detail because recently, going through this process with an organization I work with, we surveyed 48 different CRMs before we got down to the most user-friendly, and we implemented the most user-friendly for this particular organization. So there's just a sea of CRMs out there in the marketplace, and really what we have to do is figure out what the right CRM is that fits your foot. Okay, so the shoe that fits the foot. And in order to do that, we need to understand your needs and what the CRM is capable of and then match them. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of CRMs that are my favorites. I really like Zoho because of the full integration. And what I mean by that is it can do email campaigns, manage sales processes, and link in with accounting packages, as well as it can do automations. And I won't spend too much time on the idea of automations, but all I'll say about automation sequences is that you can send multiple emails triggered by certain clicks and activities that a customer makes in an email sequence. It's quite a complex requirement and is used in digital marketing. ActiveCampaign is, again, full integration, manages sales processes quite well. And I find for one-man operations, ActiveCampaign is quite a good tool. So Zoho and ActiveCampaign are very good around the digital space. In terms of managing sales processes and simplicity for bigger businesses, I really like Insightly. I've installed Insightly in a crane manufacturing company, engineering firm, about 15 staff, in a flooring organisation with about 12 staff, in an electrical engineering firm with 22 engineers and about 30 staff, and it's very, very effective in managing the sales process with project managers and those sorts of people. And I've worked with an organisation where Base and Socket are implemented in a reasonably large manufacturing firm with about 30 staff, doing custom furniture import distribution. And Socket's very good in terms of being able to link with quotes, etc. So without confusing you too much, all I'm suggesting is that different CRMs have strengths and weaknesses and are stronger in some areas and not so strong in other areas. The three considerations are whether you're wanting to link into accounting and manage customer interactions better, whether you're wanting to do digital marketing and enable your digital marketing with a strong foundation or sales process in your organization, and if you're wanting to integrate with a quote package. So those three considerations are quite important. Each different CRM has differences. I haven't found one CRM that does the whole lot yet, to be honest. In the past, we used to do cold calls, collect cards, canvassing, and chase financial targets. The thing about historic data or financial targets is that it doesn't incentivize activity. It just measures outputs rather than measuring inputs. So what we find with CRMs is we can actually start to measure activity, the inputs that drive the outputs. And if we drive the inputs or the lead indicators in terms of KPIs, for argument's sake, then we actually get better outputs. And in every case that I've implemented a CRM, we've had better outputs, just because we now have a handle on and are tracking the activity that the salespeople are doing, including the owner of the organization. It's just about being better organized. Okay, so let's talk about sales competence for a second. One thing that's really important, and I think the corporates do this quite well in terms of managing activity, is we look at action, results, and review. So over time, if we want to build a sales team or get salespeople or a business owner and leader or the business to become more effective, then we need to track the effect of our actions. So this loop goes from action to result, then review. So when we review the result and look at what worked and what didn't work, then we take a new action, we get a better or different result the next time. Most people are subjective in how they think things went, or if you ask a salesperson what their conversion rate is, they might tell you 80% when it's actually 25%, and I've actually seen this on more than one occasion. And it's not really that we are lying or being deceitful, it's just that we're operating in our mind and we're not operating against objectivity or the data. Once we start to measure the data, we get much better results because we actually start to relate to the world as it actually is. So there's some real examples here. If we look at this dashboard example, what we can see is there are some coloured cells in the middle at the percentage, and that is showing us where each person is sitting in relation to their target. The green one's at 107% of target in terms of volume, so that 86,000 sales accepted over target of 80,000 means they're at 107% of target. We're tracking margin, and we can see it in the graph. So this is a really good dashboard. This is a real live example of an organisation I've worked with where we can actually see how much was quoted, how much was accepted, and how much margin was sold. Now moving to the next screen, we can see how much forward work this company has. So let's look at July, and if you look at the red bar, you can see that they've got about $1 million, maybe just under, about $933,000 worth of work in front of them. The green bar is showing that they've completed $232,000 worth of work, and the light blue bar is showing that they've actually sold $378,000 worth of work. So the difference between what they've produced and what they've sold goes on to the next month, and the next month goes up slightly to one or just under 1 million in forward work. And so once we started tracking this organisation had a really solid grasp on how much forward work they had in front of them, and they could start to drive that further and manage customer expectations. Very powerful tool, because we're now in the predictive space. We're not just reacting, we're actually predicting and managing our forward workflow. Puts the company in a very strong position to manage their cash flow. Alright, so looking at the two group builder dashboards, we can see that this organisation has $3 million, $3.6 million worth of quoted work, and then 2 months later they've got 4.6 worth of quoted work. So now we're going to go into CRM examples, and the screen we can see here is Insightly. gives you a little bit of a look inside, where we have down the left hand side all of the different levels that I talked about before. So contacts is the third one in: organisations, leads, opportunities, projects, emails. I'm not going to spend too much time doing detail around that. Needless to say, you can see Word files saved, PDF files saved, and lists of where different organisations are up to and what's been happening in terms of project management. This next screen shows customer details. It's very tidy, very easy to access. There are 1,115 records in this list, and Insightly, which is the example here, is quite good at sending contacts across to MailChimp. So we can build up contact details in Insightly and send them across to MailChimp. And if we look at this next CRM example, what we can see is that there are different sales stages in the pipeline. So we can actually define a pipeline and customize it to suit your particular organization's needs. Very powerful tool, very good way to clean up and have a simple, visible system that people can follow. In this next one, we've got an example of Zoho. So I've scribbled out the name, keep it confidential obviously. And in this example, there is actually an interactive pipeline which tells us how many proposals there are at each different stage of the sales process. And in this next page, we're actually looking at ActiveCampaign. So ActiveCampaign, I really quite rate it. Has the same basic structure, although you can see there that there's campaigns and lists. Those two titles appear in MailChimp. So the thing about ActiveCampaign is it can handle all of the sales activity that I was talking about just in the last couple of slides, as well as being able to handle mail campaigns. In this next slide, you can actually see an automation sequence. Now, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail because it's probably going to blow most people out of the water. The thing is, if you understand email campaigning and want to talk to your client base more regularly and do specials and offers and those sorts of things, then ActiveCampaign is your number one choice in my view, as it's simple, straightforward, easy to use, and pretty quick to bolt together different sequences of events. Now this next screen is a quote package called Socket. This quote package works best with companies that do lots and lots of quotes and they want to store them all in one place and measure how they're going. And the nice thing about it is it bolts into most other CRMs such as Insightly or Zoho or the other multitude of CRMs that there are out there. We really want to understand what your organization's predominant need is and then bolt together two in an integration type scenario or find one CRM that does the whole lot. Finally, we're going to just talk about automated reporting. Looking at most CRMs, in my view, there's only a couple that do reporting in such a way that the business finds it useful. Now, the purpose of a CRM is obviously to add value to a business and not make it more complicated, but make it less complicated. Now, in most cases, I've found that we actually need to get the CRM to do what the business wants in order for the business to get value out of it. So my suggestion is that we actually look at the reporting that we'd like to have for the business and get the CRM to provide it. The only one that I would suggest that I know about it's very useful is a combination of Insightly and Power BI. Reporting can be automated, and going back to those previous dashboards that I showed earlier, those dashboards can be populated in 5 minutes literally by the business owner. The business owner gets either automated reporting or does a single report or a combination of reports and puts them straight into the dashboard, and the dashboard produces the results for the sales meeting. One of the things that's quite good to do is to get everybody to update their information by Friday afternoon. That way on Monday morning you can have an effective meeting which talks to the numbers. One of the good things that most CRMs do is they have tasks and reminders, and I find this very good for setting yourself a callback date for a company in say 2 months from now or 3 months from now or whatever. And there is another add-on that you can get for a lot of them, which is a card scanner. So especially where you're out there canvassing, cold calling or doing lots of activity, it's quite a significant efficiency gain to be able to scan a card straight into the CRM. The other thing that's quite useful is publishing a form to the internet. Especially if you've got service technicians, you can actually publish a form to the internet where they can go around with iPads or their phone and just plug 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 fields straight into a form, and it populates it straight into the CRM from in the field being out and about. That's a massive efficiency gain, and it reduces administration time later on. Okay, so the 3 most useful integrations: quote software, email, and accounting. Thank you for your time, and if you'd like to register for the full program starting on the 5th of May, please click here. Thank you.